Okay, so look at this slide. Now, it is a very high cardiac activity. So what is happening? It refers to the contraction of the two ventricles here. Now, just a very quick revision. The two rooms above here are the atrium, and then the two rooms down here are the ventricles. Now, if it is the ventricle that is contracting, then how do we describe these cardiac events? Now, first, this point is the SA node. It triggers an impulse which will be transmitted to another node. This is a second node, which is called the AV node. Okay, and the impulse here will relay to this bigger nerve, which is the bundle of His. This is the bundle of His, and the impulse will further go down and then pass to the network of nerve here, and this is the Purkinje fibers. Now, the Purkinje fibers are embedded in the ventricular wall, and when the impulse arrives here, the ventricle muscles will contract, causing the ventricles to pump the blood up to to these pulmonary arteries and also the aorta. Now, what I just described is the event that happens to cause the ventricular contraction, and it is asked in this question. So how do I write the answers? Step by step, point by point. So I analyze the answers like this. Now, because we focus on the ventricular contractions, so the signal from the AV node, it receives a signal, so it refers to the impulse. And then the impulse carries through the bundle of His and then the Purkinje fibers. So these two also refer to impulse. Then the AV node valve close, okay, because the ventricle is contracting. So the AV valves close, prevent the blood from going back to the atrium, okay? And finally, I will jump to ventricle contracts, okay, because the ventricle wall receives the impulse. That's why the ventricle muscles, they contract to pump the blood up to different parts of the body. So it refers to the muscle. Now, of course, the maximum point here is 2. I just focus on the points that I mentioned. I think it simplifies your understanding of the answers. Okay? Okay, the next one. Heart rate is affected by the hormone epinephrine. The action of epinephrine is mediated by a chemical called a second messenger. So important words. You have to explain the mechanism of actions of a second messenger. Now, whenever you're asked to write a mechanism means you have to write steps following the right sequence. So how this epinephrine follows some steps to carry out its control, carry out its response, to bring about its response. Okay, then we look at the slide again. Okay, so for this one. Now, since epinephrine is a peptide hormone, so we look at this slide. Epinephrine, it is not fat soluble, so it cannot directly go through this plasma membrane. So the yellow layer represents the plasma membrane. It depends on this receptor, the plasma membrane receptor, to receive the epinephrine, and then a second messenger is produced. And the second messenger will mediate a cascade of reactions. It means it would carry a series of reactions, and finally what happens will be the hormone reaction, the hormone effect will be carried out. Okay, so depending on what this hormone is. So if this hormone will help you like constrict the blood vessels, then this constriction of blood vessels will be brought about. Okay, now here shows the mechanism of the epinephrine. So we look at the answer, how it is answered by points in the correct sequence. So epinephrine binds to receptors in the plasma membrane. This is the first point. Altogether you have to write 3 points. And then it activates the activation of the second messenger, or you can write its name, the AMP or the CAMP. Then it triggers a cascade of events. Now of course, here involves all the steps, but I also want you to include the last point. Now with the happening of those events, the hormone effects can be carried out, causing the hormone effects. Then you have a complete story of the whole mechanism. You can have these 3 points very easily. Okay, the next one. During the cardiac arrest, meaning the heart attack, the ventricles of the heart might begin to contract in an uncoordinated fashion. You have to outline the treatment used for this condition. Okay, so if it is a uncoordinated fashion, then it is fibrillation. So what you need to do is to defibrillate this condition by using a defibrillator. But you cannot just use the word defibrillator here to get this 1 mark, because you are not only asked to write the name of the equipment which you can use, but you are asked to outline the treatment, not the equipment. So what treatment that you can do? The answer is you can use a defibrillator to restore the normal rhythm, the normal heart rhythm. Then you can have this mark. We do not accept pacemaker here because it cannot help you restore the normal cardiac rhythm. Okay? Need something more than 1 word answer, as this is an outline. This is not a name, this is not an identify, so you need something more than 1 word answer. Okay, then here, explain. The action word is to explain the role of chemoreceptors in the regulation of ventilation rate. So if you're asked to write the role, it means you have to write its functions of chemoreceptors if you are going to regulate the ventilation rate, your breathing rate. So we have to get back to our PowerPoint for this. Alright, now look at this PowerPoint. If you have to carry out ventilation, there are 2 muscles that you have to mention. This is the whole rib cage. Inside it, it is the thoracic cavity. Below, at the lower part of the thoracic cavity, you have this big muscle, which is the diaphragm. Of course, it is a muscle, it can contract. So when it contracts, the diaphragm will be flattened, it will lower. Then it increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. Another muscle that we have to mention is the muscle connecting the ribs. It is the intercostal muscle. If you are inhaling, meaning you are breathing in, the intercostal muscle will contract, causing the whole rib cage going up and going out. So if it is up and out, it will also increase the volume of the thoracic cavity. So let me repeat. If you are inhaling, both muscles will contract. But you have to look at the chemoreceptors, right? So how are the chemoreceptors bring about higher ventilation rate, bring about higher rate of contraction and relaxation of these 2 muscles? Alright, so chemoreceptors in our body. Now, if you have to increase your ventilation rate, it means that you have higher CO2 content in your body, so you have to increase your ventilation rate to get rid of the excessive CO2, right? So the chemoreceptors can detect the excessive CO2 by detecting the pH in your blood. Because you have more CO2, your blood becomes more acidic. Alright, now the more acidic blood is detected by the receptors here, the chemoreceptors here. It is the aorta, and this part where the chemoreceptors are located is called the aortic body. Alright, and there are two